Welcome back to the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are very happy to have on Morgan Lulu. Let me read a little bio on Morgan, and then we'll get right into our conversation. So Morgan is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, past life regression specialist, Hypnofit Practitioner, Level 2 Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique practitioner, and a meditation guide. So thank you, Morgan, for being on today, and welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
Well, we'd like to start out today just by getting to know you a little bit, getting to know something about your life history, your background, anything you'd like to share in your past that kind of brought you to this work that you do with hypnotherapy.
Great. Well, I'd have to say that it started with me choosing my name. I came to my mom in a dream 3 days before I was born, and my name was supposed to be Brittany Ann. And I said, Mom, my name is Morgan Mary. So
Very cool.
I've always felt like I've had some kind of purpose, or like I'm on a mission, and finding out what that is exactly has just been an absolute joy and pleasure. Um, One of my favorite stories is I would take my ice cream money and ride my bike over to the nearest psychic shop, and I would try to buy crystals and stones, even though I didn't have any money to actually purchase them. But I would sit and talk with these psychics and ask them, "What do you know? Tell me about the secrets of the universe." And I was like 5. So I've been on a really fun journey of exploration. Um, I've always been very empathic. Uh, that has been definitely probably one of my biggest challenges is navigating that. So I really feel called to help others that also feel empathic. I felt at a really young age that there had to be, well, one, I was a global learner. Anything spiritual that was occurring anywhere throughout the world, I was reading about it or learning about it. And I would do that every day after school. And it was kind of like my own private thing. I knew that people probably wouldn't understand it, and so I wasn't ashamed of it, but I felt like it was very hidden. And now I'm very much out there, and it feels so much better. Uh, but I knew on a fundamental level that if I was unhappy, there was a way that I could come out of suffering. And so, um, when I went to college, I took every single course I could on Buddhism, and Buddhism really provided a really solid foundation to create my own ease of suffering. Um, and that's really taken me to understand more about transpersonal hypnosis. Uh, I was very much a skeptic when it came to past life regression, even though I very much believe in reincarnation and the soul's evolution throughout time. Uh, but I felt called to explore it, and I just swallowed up as much information I could about past life regression and came across so much information that proved it, where children were spontaneously remembering these lives, and private investigators would come and ask them certain questions, and they'd say, "No, no, no. That's my husband. And I live down this street. And if you go under the bed, there's a floorboard that's loose, and there'll be a little box, and there's a letter for my son." And then these were real stories. Um, so I had to understand more. And hypnosis has always really been something so fascinating to me. I'm very much, yes, a practitioner, but I'm also a student of hypnosis. And I feel like every single experience I have with hypnosis has just led me to ask even more questions and to really feel like there are no limitations. This experience is so much deeper than I could ever possibly understand. So I hope that was a nice little intro.
Yeah, awesome. There's a lot there we could go into. Maybe we could go start with, you said that studying Buddhism really gave you a foundation. Was it a foundation of knowledge or practice, or how did that work for you?
Uh, it was everything to me. It was really like a guiding light. So I was learning a lot about Buddhism probably around the age of 15. And my first time meditating, I was able to leave my bedroom and go above the house. And then I was shot out into the universe and I could see Earth. And it was this very tiny little planet. And I freaked out. And I said I would never meditate again. Um, and of course, meditation really did, the practice of meditation changed everything. I was able to really take control over my day to day and my thoughts.
Mm.
I felt really empowered by
Mm.
understanding Buddhism.
So what style of meditation did you initially practice?
I would say I kind of did my own thing a lot of times. Um, I wanted there to be some sort of outcome with every experience, and so I would set an intention. Um, Sometimes I would ask a question. Sometimes I would challenge myself, like, mind, go ahead, give me everything you've got, and let's see if I can, swat away the thoughts. Because I knew really early on that it was very much a practice. It's just like going to the gym. It's just like doing yoga on like a physical level almost, where just the practice of being aware of your thoughts, that's the end goal. Um, so yeah,
So a very intuitive approach to it.
yes, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
And I'm curious, Morgan, about the just leading on from the meditation into the past life regression. Would you either or and share either one of your own past life experiences or perhaps one, a client, just to give our listeners and viewers a feeling of what it might be like to come to you and experience that past life regression? And then also, if you've got tips, as well as coming to see you, how people might access that opportunity to touch their past lives.
Beautiful. Um, well, my first experience with past life regression, I had been facilitating, I'd say maybe 75 sessions previous to my own regression. So I very much felt like almost like a fraud. Like I'm leading these experiences, I have no idea what it's like for them. And so when I did my level 2 certification in Eureka Springs, Arkansas with Dolores Cannon's daughter, so maybe your listeners are familiar with Dolores Cannon's work. I fell in love with her, and she was the reason why I really found my way to past life regression. So while I was in training, advanced training, I had my very first experience. And I remember just being so mean to myself in my thoughts. And I thought, what a waste of money. Who are you to think that you're anything special? I mean, the ego mind was just tearing me apart while I'm trying to let go to experience the experience of trance. And then I just said, stop. And then I blasted off and I was traveling through a very hot, tight tunnel. And I could feel myself sweating immediately and going really, really fast. And then all of a sudden I popped out of, well, I guess I should back up. Forgive me. Um, I was like a little fairy being. on a different planet, and our job was to charge these crystal caverns and these big kind of canyon walls of just beautiful crystals, and we would launch them out into the universe, and they contained consciousness, basically. And that was our job, and we loved it. And everyone communicated telepathically. We didn't really have names. It was such a comforting, complete experience to feel what that felt like. And there was this big kind of raindrop that fell from the sky, and it burst in front of us, and we all, ran over, and inside there was this little piece of paper, and it had some golden scroll. It was a scroll, and it was like cursive writing that I couldn't read. And the practitioner that was facilitating this was very wise to say, well, maybe there's someone around you that can read it. And I look up, and there's this huge fairy man, and he was kind of like our protector. And he's like, oh my gosh, Morgan, what an honor. You've been called to Earth. It's been so long since one of us have been called. And I immediately started sobbing. I was so sad. Why me? Why do I have to leave this? This is so much fun. I love it here. Why? I was so sad. And now I'll take you through the hot red tunnel. And I burst through the desert floor, and I kind of hovered over. It was a really dark night in a very barren desert area. And I kind of floated there for a moment and then fell down to the surface. And I looked to my right, and there was a very large Native American man who said, don't worry, don't freak out. I'm going to be with you throughout the entire experience. We've got this. And then I came out. So I'd say that my first experience was very, very pleasant and powerful, because up until that point, I never really understood or felt like I could connect with others on a really intimate, deep level. And I've always had a hard time making kind of small talk. And so it was hard for me to actually make friends. And at that time, those that were my friends, they really had to stay on it and like force me to come play with them. And so from that moment on, I understood that maybe part of the reason why I feel so strange in this sort of relationship experience is that I had felt such oneness, and this feels so different. But that knowing that I have experienced that, I'm now able to call on that memory while I'm in this human body, and then experience connections with others on such a deeper, more profound level. So it really shifted everything for me.
Hmm. So would you say that's common for people when they experience a past life, then they take something from that helps them in this life now? Is that the purpose of knowing our past lives?
So a lot of people come, either they're extremely interested, they maybe have read books or have seen YouTube videos, they've come across Dolores Cannon's work. Others have very serious challenges, whether it be cancer to anxiety to a diagnosis of some sort, or they're going through a divorce, or they lost a child had died. Very, very intense things. And I'm usually the end of the line for these people, and they say the same thing: I've tried everything. What have I got to lose? And so the mechanism of past life regression really you don't need to believe in past lives in order to experience this. And I tell people that it's really just another subset of thoughts that can help you to see things from a different perspective. And every single experience is totally in correlation with this life and what you're experiencing now. I've never experienced a past life session where someone was like, wow, that had nothing to do with my life. It's just not possible. And I feel like what is occurring through this guided meditation, but into a trance-like state, we're intentionally connecting to the part of them that is the most wise, that is the most compassionate, most divine energy source that one can connect to. And so this may be like someone's higher self. I think it could be much more than that, very transcendental. And so with that intention, oftentimes we'll see a different lifetime that totally explains why they're experiencing certain emotions. And it's usually the emotion that encapsulates the stuckness or the challenge. So whether it be anger or shame or guilt or sadness or fear, we can follow that experience, see it from a different perspective, gain the knowledge and wisdom of why that was important, for just on a human level, why that was important to learn, take that wisdom back, and then we shift over into this lifetime while they're still in trance. And with this knowledge, how can they apply it today? And they take this beautiful perspective and they see their own solutions. And what I find so beautiful and such an honor is to create the space and the experience for someone to connect with themselves again. I feel like a lot of people have lost touch of their own spirituality and their soul essence, or maybe they've had tough experiences with religion or some sort of dogma, and they feel lost. But to bring them back to their soul essence, and that they can trust their own answers and what's already within them, they'll never forget that, and they get to use that for the rest of their lives. It's such an honor to experience that. And that's usually how people find their own solutions and to ease their suffering. So it's very much they're guiding it.
Beautiful.
Would you like me to share maybe another story of a past life
Absolutely.
experience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're so precious, they I'm sure everybody listening is just going, yes, please go and share. Because I do think one thing that you've highlighted, that experience that you see, if you were to characterize, past life experience, and because people, I've had lots of clients over the years who say, oh, well, was that a past life experience? And it's generally spontaneous, just like very unexpected. And the other thing is there is a genuine knowing. The person who goes through it gets that sense that they know without a shadow of a doubt that is genuinely deeply affecting, related to their life. So I'm curious about that. Are there those kind of characteristics that tend to show up so that people know that is actually past life? And then, yes, please relate we would love another rich experience. Absolutely.
I have so many, so many. I should probably write a book about them. And many past life regressionists do. And those books are always so fascinating, because really it comes down to the power to ask the right questions. And depending on the question you ask, you're going to get a very different answer or experience. So one of my favorites came from this this man who had a beautiful wife, beautiful family, had a few children, and they were expecting another. And he was having a really hard time with this pregnancy, and he was very fearful. for the actual experience of his wife being pregnant, which he felt was really strange considering he had already, experienced multiple pregnancies. And he said that this one just felt different. And intuitively, I felt like he was skirting around the actual issue on like a physical level. And I heard in my head, ask him about ED. And I was like, what is ED? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask him. I'm like, do you have ED? And he's like, oh, yes, thank you. This is why I'm here. So he was experiencing erectile dysfunction. And if I hear everything, so nothing is too off the wall, whether in this life or in other lives. And he's like, oh, thank you. Told me the situation. He really wanted to just experience past life regression, didn't really have any sort of wasn't looking for an end result, but if this could help that, then he was all in. So he took me through this life where he was actually a woman and he was pregnant, and this couple was so deeply in love, and she had passed away during childbirth, and he was sobbing, just completely overwhelmed with this pain of losing that love on a physical 3D dimensional experience. And that really, once we came out of trance, he understood everything, that he knows what is at stake. And he was able to really fall more deeply in love with his wife, because he understood the experience. And there, since then he was fine. He didn't experience ED any longer. So I have tons of stories like these where sometimes people are aliens. They will show up as, I've had someone show up as a fish. That was very difficult to understand what they were. It's just really interesting experiences. Another story, there was a woman who came to see me, and she was having a really hard time with this breakup. And she felt like this man was her soulmate, or that there was just something really deep there. And it was really impacting her life and her relationship with her daughter. And she was not happy at all. So she finds herself as a businessman walking through a city, and to me it seems like Wall Street. And he takes the elevator straight up to the penthouse, and he's just so happy that he's finally got this promotion that he's worked his entire life for. He cannot wait to tell his wife about this incredible raise, and it was going to change their lives completely. It was going to provide him more time to be with his girls, and everything was just all about the family. And he was just so excited to share this news. When he got into kind of like his penthouse office, he went over to the phone to call his wife. Well, the door gets kicked in by another man, and it's his best friend. And he's there holding a gun. And he's like, you're basically dead. I'm going to kill you. He's like, what? You're my best friend. I don't understand anything. It's like, I am in love with your wife. We've been together for years now, and it's time that we're actually together. And you're going to die, and I'm going to get this promotion, and I'm going to get basically your family and live the life that I'm meant to live. And he shoots this man. And so she came out of the experience with such a new perspective of why she had such a deep connection to her ex-boyfriend, because that was her best friend. And she immediately recognized him during the session, which was just so fascinating. And it helped her to move on and to, you know, continue on with her life. And they're not friends anymore.
It's extraordinary what you can resolve within those situations, right? When you actually, as you said, seeing something from a different perspective actually allows somebody to have such an aha, because they literally see it from another perspective, because there's the deep felt sense of that knowing of, oh, that's the relationship, and you actually feel it as you're experiencing it. And that, you know, that is a great superpower to be able to unleash for a person, because most of the time we are locked into our perspectives and see everything through, you know, these lenses or these. So wow, those are some wonderful stories. I'm sure you're going to get lots of people wanting to knock on your door or book a session. I love that. And since we're sort of dovetailing in the kind of way into the hypnosis side of things, could you share in a similar way some of the ways that you've approached hypnosis? And again, you know, I think the examples in the stories are so rich and you tell them so beautifully. Perhaps again, you know, give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to experience with you what might happen when they can't, you know, just so some of those reflective stories are really wonderful because they put us right there and we can kind of feel what it's like to be in your session.
So basically you would, I performed the past life regressions in person because the physical body could experience whatever is going on in a past life, whether, you know, they're being burned at the stake or maybe they've been hung. The physical body may show symptoms of not pleasant symptoms, and maybe the person in trance isn't aware of that, but if I can see it, or if I can see the body kind of moving and kind of like they're not comfortable, we can address those things. So I prefer to do it in person. But your question was kind of like what it's like to experience this with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So basically I've worked with tons of different types of people, whether they're, you know, mothers, daughters, uh, executives, shamans, psychics, mediums, professional athletes, but they all have some sort of kind of spiritual connection, um, and a question, or, you know, burning interest, of maybe even entertainment. And so I would then ask them questions about, you know, do you have recurring dreams? Do you have any birthmarks? Do you have an affinity to certain places or times? Um, do you, you know, kind of, I get an understanding of their lives as they are right now, and kind of the relationships that they're experiencing, and those that the people that are really important to them, because especially within the family unit, oftentimes we will come back within the same family, but we'll take different turns playing different roles. Well, perspective today, and it's beautiful. I love hearing these stories, and I get to learn all about their challenges and things that they've overcome. It's just so beautiful to hear other stories. I get them super relaxed, super comfortable, really comfortable around me naturally, um, and safe with me. So I feel like that's really important if you are looking to have an experience like this, to ask questions with, to really vibe them out. See if you actually connect. That's really, really, really important, because it foundationally rests on trust, and it takes a certain amount of surrender to trust that your mind can let go and to experience this. So if someone doesn't feel comfortable with me, there's no way this is going to work. So it's very much a mutual connection. And basically, I would take them through a guided meditation and take them into a delta, into a theta brain state. Uh, and it's very natural. We experience that state every single day, just as we're falling asleep, just as we're waking up every morning. So it's nothing that, it's not going to feel foreign. A lot of people think that they're going to, like black out and then they come to and they're like, what happened? That doesn't really happen anymore. And I think it may have something to do with the consciousness on the planet, and that we don't have to be totally out in order to get these answers. So I think that's interesting, something I'm always curious about. And then we just naturally go into a time and a place that is most important for them in this day and time. Something, a past life that is appropriate, the most appropriate lifetime. And usually I have them kind of like float down from a cloud, and they'll step down onto the ground, and we ground them. I ask them to like really feel into your feet, feel into the body. What does the body feel like? And they'll say, oh, I feel young, or I feel older, I don't feel well. What are you wearing? And then as they kind of ground into this body, the story just naturally develops, and their clothing can be a springboard into who they really are. They begin to look around, and it's almost like the thoughts are already there. There's a reason why we're at the port on an island. There's a reason why you are a bus driver on another planet, and and you're looking for love. Like, um, there's always a purpose. There's always a reason. And so I ask questions that are very open-ended, and I empower them through the experience to kind of follow whatever is interesting, and then the story just develops. So I'm there to make sure that if there's any sort of physical unrest, or oftentimes people cry, whether something traumatic happens, something very sad happens, um, they'll cry or have a really, really powerful emotional response. And sometimes if it's too intense, um, we can actually hover over the experience. And so they can just view it from above. And that will completely release the body and the emotional body, which is so fascinating. In an instant, they'll stop. It's just so intriguing. And then we may go through the death and dying experience. Something I love to ask, as you're taking your final breath, what's your last thought? And it's usually something so profound and so powerful that I feel like that last thought is some sort of a frequency that carries over into this life. And so with that just nugget of gold, there's so much there. And we might experience, another lifetime, or at most maybe 3 past lives. And throughout all of them, they're all very different stories, very different lessons. Another thing we always ask is, or I ask, is now that you've passed on, you can look back on your entire life. What did you learn? Are there things that you wish you had done differently? And then from there, we would ask the higher self to come through, the part of them that is the all-knowing, all-loving, divine, their spirit, to come through. And then I will ask questions on their behalf that they've already given me, and they can ask any question they want. So I've got their questions, and it may be, why am I here? Why did I choose my mom? Why did I get a breast cancer diagnosis? Why, why did I choose my husband? Tell me about my career path. Anything. They can literally ask anything. And I ask these questions to their higher self. And from them, they're giving their answers. And they're profound. They're always so loving and so kind and patient. I feel like we're so hard on ourselves. And from our higher self's perspective, we're doing great. We're doing so well. I feel like a lot of people experience feelings of not being enough. And self-compassion is at the foundation of all of these sessions with my practice. Self-love has got to be something that is practiced and built upon and explored. And so we'll do that in these sessions as well. And then they come out of the experience completely blown away. Sometimes they don't remember all the parts. I like to kind of give them time to adjust, and I'll kind of go through my notes and share with them some of the incredible wisdom that we were able to obtain. Or I thought it was so fascinating that, you were a mermaid and then you met this man, and whatever the story may be. And sometimes I'll even cry when I hear just truth come from them, because it's just so powerful. And every time they look so different than how I remembered them when they first came in. They physically look different to me. And I think it's that connection to themselves that really does just radiate and create such a different aura about these people. It's fascinating. And then we always, I kind of let them just go home and rest, eat a healthy meal, maybe take a bath, and then subsequent sessions will take what we learned in these past lives and apply it. So it's not just a cool party trick or like a cool story you tell at a party, but we're going to act on this wisdom and embody it. And I think that is so crucial, to experience what it feels like to be in that wisdom and then act from that wisdom in your own life. And then again, you carry that knowledge and that knowing and that confidence, that connection to spirit forever. And I find that you can go right back to that connection and what that feels like so easily. So you can, when you're facing a challenge, you can close your eyes, go to meditation, and ask to connect with that part of you, and it's there. And you remember it, you know it, you feel it, and you can ask questions. So it's just wonderful. I love this work.
Beautiful. Just as a way to draw this to a close, do you have any tips or any insight that you'd like to pass along in terms of what our listeners and viewers, how they could connect with their higher self and this higher wisdom, and just some either a practice or something to have in mind as they want to make that connection?
Absolutely. I feel like meditation is conscious mind training and hypnosis is subconscious mind training. Both need to come together. And so meditation, a daily meditation practice, is so, so important. just for the simple reason of bringing awareness to your thoughts. If we have no awareness of what's going through our minds every day, we can't change our lives. It has to start there. And to pay attention to what these thoughts are saying. Are they harsh? Are they being mean? And it's pretty wild to come to that conclusion of, wow, I'm my worst enemy right now, or I'm really tearing myself down. You have to start with the awareness. In regard to their own self-hypnosis, absolutely, we can totally experience self-hypnosis. One way to do so is to record yourself on your phone with a kind of like a script of a progressive relaxation. That's what I utilize. I find that's the most relaxing and comfortable experience. There's lots of ways to actually experience hypnosis, but I really prefer that. And then you can ask a question and just let whatever happens happen. And then even on your own recording, you can give yourself maybe like 45 minutes to explore, and then count yourself back up 1 to 5. 5, you're going to be wide awake, feeling energized, feeling confident, feeling so alive and so empowered, and you're going to enjoy the rest of your day. That's one way to do it. Another really simple way to do it that you can do anywhere, anytime, somewhere that you can maybe sit down and close your eyes, is to, again, start with progressive relaxation. So just at the top of the head and just pretend like there's maybe warm butter or sunshine just slowly falling down the face, down the neck, down the arms, throughout the body. And imagine this cord that goes from your feet to the center of the earth. And here you can maybe take yourself to a cave or like a wisdom temple, or you can draw a cord from the top of your head and connect to an off-planet safe place. So you can really create your own sacred space. You can design it how you want, and you can come back to this sacred temple whenever you want. So I would say kind of create that in your mind first, and then do the progressive relaxation, and then go to that place and just sit and allow whatever to come through to come through. You can pose a question. You can just allow. Maybe you want to connect with a spirit guide, ask to connect with a spirit guide, and just trust that whatever is coming through for you has a purpose and it's you. So yeah, I think that's a really powerful, easy self-hypnosis practice. Also in dreams too, you can, before you go to bed at night, pose a question. Maybe you're having an experience at work that's really bothering you. Ask, how do I resolve this? And oftentimes, just as you're waking up, there's that answer. So we're very, very powerful if we give ourselves the opportunity to experience our soul.
Beautiful. Stephen, anything you want to add or ask to finish?
Well, I was going to ask about your just a short snippet of your future vision for yourself. I know we all know that you're involved with Vivaya Live, and that's such a wonderful platform, and that there's also your own path, almost bringing it all the way back to, your spiritual truths and your connection with Buddhism. What do you see as being the future for where you're heading, and then give our listeners and viewers ways of connecting in with you?
Beautiful. So what I am putting into motion, just through my own meditation, is I feel like there is a connection between conscious mind training and subconscious mind training within a spiritual environment. And I feel like there's so many more truths to understand, that there's something that I haven't gotten yet that I think is going to really change everything for me and how I see the world. And maybe it's a new practice. I have been a Kundalini yogi practitioner for quite some time now, and I finished a yoga teacher training. And I'm really excited to bring these physical practices, the priming of the body, to experience meditation. I think is so important. These practices where you can really cleanse your auric field and feel like empowered within your own body and utilize the physical practice with intention versus just sitting. It's very different. So that is something I'm exploring. And really working with empaths and those that experience ADHD and ADD. I am one of those people, and I've come a long way. And so I really want to share those solutions with others. I have a deep calling to do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so how specifically, where can people reach you? Because we'll obviously add links in all the comments and annotations that we add. So you'll be able to, for those of you listening, you'll be able to find Morgan. But I'm just curious if there's particular ways that you prefer people to reach out to you and get hold of you.
You can go to my website, morganlulu.com. You can connect with me there. Also, I'll be teaching on Vivaya Live also, along with Kevin and Stephen. And we're basically bringing really powerful modalities and practices to a much wider audience so that you can kind of cherry pick your experiences with really trusted guides. And I can't say enough about you, Kevin and Stephen, about your practices. I love your meditations. I love what you do. So I just think it's a really great place for people to explore, to connect with these guides, to connect with the seekers, and evolve together. It's really a community experience. So definitely check us out on Vivaya Live.
Great. Wonderful, Morgan. Well, thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and all those just fascinating stories, and just that gives everyone confidence, that we're here on purpose, that we're connected, that there's always this transcendent being that we are, and that's a thread that runs through all our lives and connects us with each other. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Stephen. And thank you all for watching and listening. And once again, you can visit Morgan at morganlulu.com. And if you want more information on meditation and awareness practices, you can visit us at raisingourvibration.net. So thank you for being here. Thank you for participating with us. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.